Hey everyone, Dave from Blueberries Games here again. Today we're going to be doing another $20 Magic MTG budget deck, and today I've chosen one inspired by two different things. The first and foremost, it was inspired by my girlfriend. She always says that I stay there from becoming the crazy old cat lady. And the other inspiration was the 2018 Commander Feline Ferocity deck. I figured, you know what? People love cats. So why not go with the crazy cat lady? It's mono white. And just remember, every $20 budget deck I make has a set of rules. First and foremost, it's always got to have at least 3 rares and 1 flex spot that is usually either another rare, a mythic, a full rare, or a foil that fits into the theme of the deck. Second rule, no fluff. Fluff meaning, stuff that doesn't really fit the theme of the deck. Every card has to fit in some way, shape, or form. Third rule, it must be upgradable. When I say upgradable, I mean it can't be too expensive to upgrade it to fit into any, into the deck. It could be another version of a rare that I have in here. It could be anything, but it doesn't have to be expensive. And the fourth rule, it must be able to at least be able to fit into a type or a format. I try to strive for all the decks to fit into at least modern. Older cards are hard to find. Some of the decks I make have older cards because I do, again, believe, like I said in the last video, some of the cards are a little bit better, a little bit more theme fitting, but, whatever. I've tried to make a couple standard decks, but with standards rotating all the time, I just like to fit in the modern format because it doesn't rotate, it just adds. So, let's begin. So, first and foremost, it's cats. Come on now, it's cats. So if you have a cat deck, you got to put Sacred Cat in there. It's probably one of the best 1-drops in the entire cat tribe. I put a couple of them, plus some trained Caragals in them. I have to be able to have the cards. I don't have that many for some reason. Sacred Cats are really hard to find. I don't know why. So we go with the Sacred Cat. We go Trained Caracal. They're essentially the same card. The difference is 1 Cannon Bomb. 1/1 drops, lifelink. This is actually the common theme of the deck. It's kind of a white weenie deck, but it has an alt-win condition. Okay? We go with Leonin Vanguard, another 1-drop. It can get bigger. It helps you gain life. For the next card that we're going to show you, it's a small theme. Johnny's Pride Mate. The point of this deck is to 1-drop one of your lifelinkers, so that second turn, if you attack and you're unblocked, you can at least get the Pride Mate to be a 3/3 at minimum before it can attack. That's the basic theme of the deck. It's white weenie, but it's a growing white weenie, so it goes from white weenie to, kind of like a green stompy deck, but for white. I put in here a couple of Leonin Sky Hunters. Evasion. You gotta have some type of evasion. In any Magic game, evasion's king, and I will actually get into that a little bit more later in the deck. It has quite a bit of evasion, actually. But we start off with, generic flying. It works, it's helpful. It doesn't have lifelink, unfortunately, but it's a 2 to cast 2/2 that's flying. There's not a lot of them in the game, so we go with that. Sunstriker, that's more the style of the white weenie. It's a ground creature, it's not a flyer, but it has lifelink. Again, all in the name of getting the Johnny Primate to get bigger. We have a Sky Guard, more flying, but it also gains life. It's kind of a double hit, so if your Primate's out, when it enters play, you can actually make it bigger before your attack. And then if you hit with a lifelinker, it gets even bigger. I have Alive and Well in here. The Alive and Well is more or less for the well part of the deck, or well half of the card. You want to gain life as much as possible, and it's a white weenie style deck. There's going to be a lot of creatures out, so hopefully it hits for at least 4, possibly 6, and maybe even 8. This card, Ethereal Armor, I deem this to probably be one of the best white auras for a white weenie style deck ever printed, and there are a lot of things in this deck that will help this. It itself gives first strike and +1/+1 because it itself is an enchantment, but the rest of the enchantments in the game, which are control style, will help build this up to make your creature even bigger. And with first strike, lifelink, and a lot of stuff, and a couple of flyers, it kind of cohesive formatted the itself into it. So the next card, Armored Ascension. Your whole point is to possibly get one really big creature that can do a lot and gain you a lot of life at the same time. And it's a white weenie, specifically mono white weenie deck. So for each planes, it gets +1/+1 on top of the ethereal armor, which will give it +1/+1 for each enchantment. And believe me, there are a lot more enchantments coming. So you can get one really big creature and hope that it can be protected, or hope you can get it through. So it'll make a nice big hit. The defensive part of the deck are enchantments. Again, they help the ethereal armor. Some pacifisms, creature control. It counts as enchantment. Goes well together. Oblivion Rings. That's for anything problematic. It could be a land. I believe it's non-land. Anything non-land. So any artifact, any other enchantment, any other creature. Could be anything. You never know what you're going to face out there. It's a great all-around card. I put 4 of them in this deck just because you have to be able to control it some way. I put the Arrest in here. Arrest is basically an upgraded pacifism. The last part of that is the activated abilities. That's to help control other styles of decks instead of just creature control. So if there's a creature out there that's extremely problematic, you could have... I have a deck that's a mill deck that uses a creature for the mill. Plop that on there, it stops the whole, mill going on. A lot of reasons you can use Arrest to its advantage. And you got Sphere of Safety. This is why I have so many controlling enchantments in the deck. If you are facing another, say, a Goblin deck, they're quick. They just can put a board presence on, have a lot of creatures that can do a lot of damage. If you're able to plop down a 1/1, put a couple of enchantments on it, and then be able to plop down a Sphere of Safety in time, they really can't do a whole lot. I mean, sure, they can get 1 or 2 to come at you, but by the time that happens, your hope is that your Primate is probably too big for them to hit through anyway, so why are they spending the mana to do so? You have just taken control of the board. I put some Whisper Silk Cloaks in. It makes any creature unblockable. And it makes it so it's Shroud, so you can protect any creature. So it has a small hexproof aura style effect where you kind of build Megatron, and then you plop that on him, and he can't be touched, and he's so big that most people can't do anything except for chump block him, and if they can block him at all, you might be on one of your flyers, it might be on something that, doesn't really matter, it's unblockable. That prevents all that. The rares. You can't make a cat deck without this card. Regal Caragor, come on now. It gives all your cats +1/+1 and lifelink. I know you see the theme here. It's cats, but the secondary theme is to gain life, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the bonus to Regal Caragor is that when it comes into play, it also puts in 2 1/1s, which essentially are 2 2s. So for 5 mana, you get 7 power on the board, plus whatever you already had, and everything gains lifelink if it didn't already have it. So when I talk about upgrading the deck, the honest truth is if I wanted to upgrade this a little bit more for on the cheap, I don't have them. I would definitely play 4 of these. It's a little expensive, but the payoff is pretty big if you get more than one out. My second rare I chose was the Adorned Pouncer because it can return back as a 4/4 and it's double strike. For those of you who don't know what double strike is it deals its damage in first strike first, and then its regular damage, essentially doubling its power. So imagine if you put on some of those enchantments, and it goes from a 1/1 to a 2/2. Now it's doing 2 first strike damage and then another 2 damage. So it can get pretty crazy really quickly, and once you eternalize it for 5, it's a 4/4. Imagine if you buff that up a little bit and put on, say, Shroud and Unblockable, it can hit pretty hard. Plus, if you have a Regal Caragor and it has lifelink, you gain the life twice. Imagine if you have this with a Regal Caragor and a Johnny's Pridemate. Now, since you gain the life twice, you also put 2 +1/+1 counters on the Pridemate. So again, there's more synergy there than you think. I don't have a whole lot of cats that are rare, especially in white. I didn't have a lot of them, so I had to go out and I had to search, and in my collection I found him. He's more of a necessity of my formatting, and if I had more Rico Caracals, I'd probably put them in place of him, but unfortunately I have another version of this deck that I will actually do a video on later. That's a green-white version, and you can't actually do any decks with cats without the Rico Caracal, so unfortunately this is just a necessity edition. He's not horrible, but, you know, the protection from a specific color kind of makes it good. His 4/7 power toughness makes him pretty hard to kill. So, you know, if you're going to upgrade, this is the first card that I would take out. Now, the reason for the lifelink theme, sorry guys, the lifelink theme is for this guy. He was originally printed, I believe, as a mythic. If you haven't noticed, all 4 cards are rare. Originally, if I had a mythic version of this, I would have put it in there. But this is your alt win condition, guys. He himself has lifelink, so you're going to get closer to that 40 life than you think with just him out. But if you have 40 life at the beginning of upkeep, you just win. There's no somebody loses. It's literally just you win the game. So that's what the whole lifelink, the whole, you know, all that ties into that. So there's 2 win conditions. If you can't get to a Felidar Sovereign, your hope is that you build basically a Megatron style creature. You sit there and you bash your opponent's brains in. You have board control with all your enchantments, and you just win. So that's the rare. Onto the lands. Obviously it's mono white, so you're going to have a whole bunch of planes. For utility, I put in here cycling. You want to... It's a monocolored deck, so you're probably going to end up cycling these later on in the game. Your hope is that you don't get these in your opening hand because they come into play tapped, and you're kind of trying to do a tempo style where, you know, first turn, second turn, third turn, you're dropping things, and then fourth and fifth turn, you're pretty much board controlling and winning the game. So these are more of a, I need to draw cards. There's not a whole lot of way in white to draw cards, so that's what these are for. I put in Sandstone Bridges. Again, they come into play tapped, but they also give things +1/+1 in Vigilance. Vigilance ends up being more powerful than you think in some cases. If you can attack and block on a turn, if your creature is big enough, it's actually pretty helpful. You can actually win a game just because a creature has Vigilance. So I throw that in there just to help give you a little bit of combat trickery. And of course, Terramorphic Expanse. I've talked about this before. Anytime you can thin your deck of bad draws, i.e. land draws, later in the game, it's always a bonus. Your hope is to possibly get this on the 3rd or 4th turn after you've already gotten a couple creatures out. Thin your deck of lands, so every draw after that has less of a possibility of getting a draw. I like fetch lands. Everybody loves fetch lands, but fetch lands are worth more than the entire deck, for one. You do have the ability to get a Primal Vista from the Modern Horizon set, but unfortunately Primal Vista itself has deemed to be worth one of them more than the entire deck. So there you go. So this is the Crazy Cat Lady deck that I've created for the convention, presented by TKT Games in Woodbury, New Jersey. It's called Geekfest. You guys should check it out. If you do happen to come by there and purchase the deck, I'll direct you to this video so that you can go ahead and get a little strategy on how to play this deck. It's really good. It was made just as a joke, but it's actually better than I thought it was going to be. So there's your little tutorial on how to play the Crazy Cat Lady deck. Again, if you guys like what you see, remember, like the video. Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more. Facebook, find me at Blue Bears Games. Twitter, Blue Bears Games. Subscribe, guys. I'm going to keep doing this. You're going to keep watching. Alright. If you have any questions or comments, just put them below. I'll answer you whenever I get a chance. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks, guys.